Grüß euch. Welcome to Unit 6 in our Common Classroom Errors video series. Looking at two things with this unit. The first one is being consistent with the formality. When we're having a conversation, we would either be staying formal or we're staying informal. So that comes up in this unit because we're having that conversation with the doctor's office. Now, for this project, either one of those is fine. You might be formal with your doctor, you might be informal. It could depend on a lot of factors. How long have you been to that doctor? How well do you know that doctor? What's your age? So depending on your character and what you have in mind for your character, you might be using formal, you might be using informal. Either way is fine, but we'd want to be consistent the whole time. So we wouldn't want to refer to the doctor as Z in some panels and then do in other panels. And to go even a little bit more broad than that, remember that dine or dina is your, but it's informal. And then ear or era is your, but it's formal. So we wouldn't want to mix those in too. We wouldn't want to use dine with Z. And then remember, another thing with formal, how do we know we're formal? If we're on a first or last name basis. So if we're calling our doctor Frank, then we want to be consistent and use informal with him. Do, dine, dina. If the doctor's last name is Brown, say, and we're calling him Herr Dr. Brown, then we'd want to be using Z and ear or era. So be sure we're consistent with that formality. Now, one question that might be on your mind, of course, is, well, is there ever a time that we might change formality with somebody? For instance, we meet them for the first time, we're using formal, but then there must be some point where if you know someone for a long time where you switch from the formal to the informal, and that's true, but there's normally a conversation going to be in there, or some sort of signal where the person's going to say maybe, oh, call me Frank, and you've been calling him, Herr Doktor. Or the verb for using do with someone is duzen, and then similar, the verb for using the formal someone is sitzen. So using z or using do, sitzen, duzen. And they might use that and say, oh, we should duzen, we should sitzen. So as far as this project goes, I would say you're probably going to need to be consistent the whole time and use the same formal tone. There's probably not going to be enough room in your dialogue where you're going to switch and say, oh, well, we should be doing this. That's just, this project's a little bit shorter and simpler than that. Okay, starting to ramble a little bit, so let's head on to our next point. Don't skimp on the dialogue. I know I see some of these every semester, and there's 6 panels total, and the first panel they say Guten Tag. The second panel they say Guten Tag. The 5th panel they're saying Auf Wiedersehen. And then the 6th panel, the other person's saying Auf Wiedersehen. So 4 of our 6 panels just have 1 or 2 words, and they're words you'd learn in Unit 1 of German 1. So you're really not on the right track if 4/6 of your project, 2/3 of your project could be done by a German 1 student in their first unit. So keep that in mind. Okay, danke, ciao.